When you confront your weaknesses, sometimes you have to reach beyond the traditional as you seek improvement. Okay, I'm a decent musician, but sight reading has always been my Achilles heel. I was working on it really hard right before my MS attack, and like everything else that MS touches, it destroyed all of my progress. Taking a critical look at my sight reading technique, I think the main problem is that I get too focused on what's immediately happening, those notes that I immediately need to take care of, rather than taking in the music with a bigger picture. And it makes for a very bad piano because I have two staves to worry about, two hands doing two different things. My question is, can Beat Saber help train my brain to anticipate things better and to have that broader view that's required for good sight reading? I gave it a shot for 7 days. Here's what happened. Before I started the challenge, I recorded myself sight reading on the piano and on the drum pad. With practice, I'm terrible at the piano, so I chose a simple song I'd never heard from my old AP Music Theory book. Without practice, I'm actually okay on the snare, so I chose a challenging piece that I hadn't played for years and tried to keep up a fast tempo. I decided that for at least a couple of days, I was only going to play songs that I had never played before, simulating sight reading. I was also determined to only play on Expert or Expert Plus for the difficulty level. For reference, I only ever played 1 or 2 songs successfully on Expert, usually playing my favorite songs on just hard. It started out okay. Well, okay, not that great, actually. I knew the only way to get through a song at these kind of levels of difficulty was to turn on that trusty no-fail setting so that I could actually play through the whole song no matter how poorly I performed. By the way, all of the music that you hear on this video is not actually from Beat Saber, it's from the YouTube audio library so that there's no copyright restrictions. I thought I was gonna do this challenge in 7 consecutive days, but 2 hours a day of Beat Saber is way too much. My back and my shoulders cramped up big time. I would not recommend doing that at home. Now that I had decided to go every other day instead of every single day in a row, I was feeling fresh and it was time for another 2-hour session of beat slashing. I had made my way through several OST albums and I was doing a lot better with anticipating the notes that came flying at me. At least until I ran into songs like Ghost, Spin Eternally, and Ludicrous Plus. These were insanely tough and raised the bar in orders of magnitude. Spin Eternally became my measuring stick. It seemed like playing it actually made me better, and maybe that's mostly because turning on any other song after that whirlwind was a breath of fresh, slow-moving air. I did start to notice that my spatial awareness was improving, and I didn't have to focus on the notes that were immediately coming at me. By expanding my vision a couple of waves ahead, it allowed me to subconsciously prepare for the movements that I would need to take in the future. It seems counterintuitive to say, but the more I let go of my intense focus, the more that I felt like I was involved in the game. I was experiencing it in a more holistic way. The next Monday and Wednesday continued to be tough sessions of continuous play, but with renewed energy from the weekend's rest. Then I decided not to skip Thursday.
This for sure is my least favorite challenge I've ever done.
I was tired, sore, and bored. This week I had run out of songs that I had never played before on Beat Saber, so I introduced songs that I knew well, but they had to be on Expert Plus. Drudging through a 3-day streak, I finally got to Friday, my last session. I was surprised at how much better I could play. Not great, not even to the point where I could turn off my no-fail safety net, but I was definitely holding my own. Since it was my last day, I decided to do 2 experiments. First, my overall goal of the day was to focus on relaxing while playing, instead of using my typical white-knuckle intense style. It's a common bit of advice given to percussionists, especially on drumline, and it is super hard to do when you are playing something at a fast tempo or doing some long string of complicated rhythms. However, the more tense you are, the sloppier you will be at those higher speeds. I noticed this rule was true even in this virtual situation. The first hour of my session, I really relaxed and used my entire body to propel my arms to the right spots at the right time. Channeling my martial arts training to use my hips for power, it actually made a huge difference. The second experiment was to play my very last hour of this challenge in total silence. Yep, I muted the TV and tried playing without any hints for rhythm besides the visual stimuli.
What the heck?
This was a really long hour and not nearly as fun. But it definitely brought me back to my original intention of improving my sight reading. Not having the band to help cue you in on the notes or the rhythm is part of what makes sight reading tough and, let's be honest, a bit boring. But it definitely gets to the root of sight reading itself. Time for the final test. Would there be any improvement at all, or did I just waste my time and experience extreme back soreness and shoulder pain for no reason at all? I actually think it did help me. The music wasn't easier to read, despite it being the exact same 2 pieces that I had attempted before the challenge. However, the experience was actually improved. I felt like I could look ahead a bit more and trust my brain to take care of the notes that I was immediately dealing with. It also took less time to get through the pieces, which is one objective measure of improvement.
Well, that was a little bit better.
However, is this strategy sustainable? For me, definitely not. This challenge was really painful for me and tiring. And honestly, I think there's a whole concept of diminishing returns, and having 2-hour sessions of Beat Sabers, honestly, I think that diminishing returns started about the first hour or maybe even before then. There's something to say about putting in that practice on what you're actually trying to train. That doesn't mean you can't try training for things that can transfer. I think the skill of training my brain with Beat Saber like I did was a skill that is going to be useful to transfer to other skills, but is it going to replace the actual, hands on my instrument? Nah. So yeah, sorry kids, I don't think you can use this video to get out of the actual practice. However, I do think it's worth trying to get those skills again that transfer to other skills. Speaking of skills that transfer, watch how fast I was able to learn basketball juggling just because I had prior experience with very small objects.